Good afternoon, everyone. It's really nice to be here. So many friendly faces. Mike, as I said to you at lunchtime, you've kept this going in an enthusiastic way for years and years and years. And it's good to see all these people in dentistry, in the dental community, that really care about the profession, about all the various constituencies in dentistry, and it's great to be here with you. So thank you for all you do, and thank you, everyone, for being so passionate about the cause here that the Santa Fe Group advances. And of course, I admire the work of the Santa Fe Group because very often you're taking on causes that are not that popular, but nevertheless you keep these important items on the agenda. So Mike, Peter Manos, where's Peter? Peter, I've been stretching my mind, but I'm told that there are no chickens above my apartment in Manhattan. But we're going to look, Mary and I, when we get back. You're welcome to bring Jacks to Manhattan if you wish. So, Dr. Isham, I don't know if this was designed, but I know that Mike Alfano does very good programs. But what you said fits right in with what I want to talk about. So thank you very much. And I agree with everything you said. So I want to talk a little bit about electronic health records, EHRs, and the concept of interoperability and indeed open architecture. So a little bit of a disclaimer. Henry Schein is the largest provider of dental software, and in fact, most dental schools in the United States use our software. But I'm not going to talk about specifics today, but I want to talk about the urgency of open architecture. It is very, very important that information as relates to all providers, all payers, all labs, and patients find their way into the electronic medical record. So what is interoperability about? An open architecture. It's the ability to have devices and software connect. And the idea is to have best of breed devices, best of breed software connect in a seamless way. Of course, there are many arguments relative to keeping systems closed, and primarily those arguments relate to cybersecurity. But with the appropriate standards, these kinds of issues can be dealt with. And in fact, if we don't deal with them, we're going to put this whole exercise of advancing oral care as a continuum of healthcare at risk. So Henry Schein has believed, really since Henry and Esther opened the door, in public-private partnerships. The best way to get things done is to get all the constituents that are involved in the community together. And in our case, it's the profession, the dental labs, the providers of products, the university, academia, the NGOs, everyone that has something to say on a topic, has an interest in a topic, should be involved. It's the old concept of Benjamin Franklin, enlightened self-interest, doing well by doing good. So in the markets that Henry Schein has served, we have been involved in a number of these public-private partnerships. They involve patients, but they can get the job done. My first exposure to this was, of course, in 1984, when the legislation, Waxman was passed, which provided for the orderly bringing to market of generic drugs. And today, over 80% of pills and capsules dispensed in the United States are generic drugs. This was a public-private partnership of the manufacturers of generic drugs, the AARP, others, to get this legislation passed. Then, of course, the ability to bring out a catalog of products at a discount when the marketplace was really not always wanting that to be done. The idea in the early 90s of going to dentists and saying, you can put a computer into your office and you can automate your office so that you can run a better practice so that you could provide better clinical care. And then, of course, working with Mike Alfano on making the public aware of the importance of oral care. And in fact, a few years later, sadly, after 9/11, going to people in the government and having the government understand that dentists have a role in prevention, in emergency response, in response to some kind of a crisis. And then, of course, several years ago, we went to the dental community, not so long ago, 8, 9 years ago, saying it is important to put a scanner in your office to scan, to replace impressions, manual impressions, because if you do that, you will ultimately be able to operate a more efficient practice, but you'll have much more data available to yourself in an interoperable way. And then most recently, we worked with the American College of Prosthodontists to advance a curriculum so that digital dentistry can become part of the teaching curriculum in dental schools. My point here is these have all been done in the form of public-private partnerships. And now, to me, this whole, personally, journey of the correlation between oral care and dental care, oral care and healthcare began with a committee that several of us sat on. I think it was in 2001 that, when the ADA held this commission on the future of dentistry. And I became aware of the correlation for the first time. And yes, this was after the Surgeon General's report. And I represented the industry on that committee. And we were able to go out to the industry to get the industry interested in this topic. The point here is, it is critical for the profession, for the industry, for all those in this dental community to be working together to get the word out. You have enormously credible data here. How do we get the word out on these findings? Ira's study, and I just thought it was so compelling, and this, built on, of course, the early work of Marge Jeffcoat, but we are not getting the word out. And the only way to get the word out is for all of us to work together. We're getting some attention at the United Nations through the World Health Organization, where there has been some activity going back to 2011, where a number of countries got together to get oral care on the agenda and recognized by the World Health Organization as a non-communicable disease. It lapsed for a few years, and there will be another effort around the opening of the UN General Assembly this year. I ask that everyone here figure a way to work together to get the word out. Best way through public-private partnerships on the importance of oral care in the continuum of care in general. So, there are, my understanding, 108 million Americans that see a physician, but not a dentist, and there are 27 million people that see a dentist, but not a physician. How do we drive this integration? And we know integration improves communication, collaboration amongst the healthcare professionals, and of course, advancing consistency of care. And today I'm here to make an appeal. And the appeal is to advance interoperability and open architecture in electronic medical records. There are two schools of thoughts. There's those that believe it should be a contained environment. Only those systems that are provided by one provider should be connected. And there are those that believe in open architecture. I would submit to you that the analogy of the railroad gauges is very much applicable here. If in the late 1800s people had not agreed to have a common gauge, I'm not sure where development would be. And I think that analogy is exactly the same here. We need to find a way, and it is not easy, to all work together to use the power of technology to advance the agenda of this meeting, which at the end of the day is to give everyone access to oral care and ensure that the oral care community is relating to the medical community. And so that is the message I have here for you today. In order for that to happen, you need what's called interoperability, and you need open architecture. And so, as you go about your daily work, and as you're interfacing with organizations that provide products and services to you, whether it's in your academic environment, your public health environment, or in private practice. Ask the question, is the device you want me to buy, is the system you want me to buy open to connecting with others? And yes, if it's a closed architecture, short term for the provider, it is more profitable. But long term, it's not in the interest of society. And in the long term, if we can align business interests in a public-private partnership way with societal needs, we will make a big difference. So, of course, the benefits of this openness are indeed efficiency, accuracy, greater value for the dollars spent on healthcare, of course, with the right standard, security, and of course, safety. So, I also want to say one other thing. We are moving into a world now where the empowered patient is going to be really important. I'm not saying it's good, I'm not saying it's bad, I'm not a clinician. I'm stating a fact, that the empowered patient is going to be important. We in my company have partnered with WebMD. Why have we partnered with WebMD? Not because I'm saying the public handles information correctly, but it's a fact. Go into a hospital, go into a medical office, go into a dental office, and you're diagnosed as a member of the public. And what do you do when you walk out? The first thing you do is you go to your computer to find out what the doctor just told you. Right? It may be very irritating to professionals. I've never examined a patient. I don't know what it means. But I would certainly, I'm an accountant by background, it's starting to bother me when somebody I give advice to starts going, well, they're not even as polite as your patients. They check it while they're in front of me. So it can be irritating, but this is a fact. So we need to ensure that we have this information in readily accessible format for the public to comprehend. And this is where open architecture is important, because you need all the information from all the providers all in one place. So the consumer is tech savvy. It's tech savvy. Social media is a fact. We may not like it, but healthcare is price-driven. The services that are provided are checked by the consumer on the internet. There's many virtual visits. This is going to be important. And personalized healthcare is here, leading to the personalized healthcare record. This will never be achieved if we do not agree to the concept of open architecture. Now's the time to be working on this. Now's the time to be confirming the standards that we're going to all work on in no different a way to the railroads. And I would submit to you that the photographic industry is an example of how standardization has worked. And I think people here obviously know about the JPEG, the file. Had the industry not agreed, where would we be today? These pictures wouldn't be up here because we'd all be fighting with different architecture, and the price of this technology and the price of these pictures would not be where it is. So I leave you with a thought, and almost an appeal, Mike, that I know it's not exactly a clinical issue per se, but if we can find a way to advance oral care by making sure that we have open architecture, that we're committed to interoperability between devices and software and between devices themselves, we will have an electronic medical record system that works, and open architecture will serve the benefits of all of us. Now, I know this is a big, big ask, but I gave you some examples of where public-private partnerships have worked in the communities we're involved with. And I leave you with this one statement, that it always seems impossible until it's done. So thank you very much.